What's going on? What's going on? This is a good question asked of me. Who was the team that, if we were playing a runner-up finals out of the 0-1 Sixers and the 0-2 Nets, who would win if they could have bet? Now, the interesting story is that Shaq, Kobe, and Phil and them, they were part of the three-peat that they got beat. The Sixers lost in five, and the Nets lost, got clean swept. But which of the two teams would have been, if these two teams fought for the title, who do I think would have won? Now, that Iverson led team, he was the MVP. Dikembe was Defensive Player of the Year. I think Aaron McKee was a six man. Larry Brown Coach of the Year. I think they had the best cheerleaders, the best. Philly had so many banners, they just didn't win when it mattered most because they was dealing with that man named Shaquille O'Neal in his peak and his prime. You deal with Kobe, but that Shaq thing that was around, Allen Iverson did get that first game. Remember when he stepped over Tyronn Lue, but it was overtime. It took every ounce because Larry Brown devised a good game plan, but Shaq at that time, his powers were out this world. But anyway, that Sixers team was lacking in talent because once we get past Aaron McKee, we don't really talk about Pookie Snow. Roger Bell wasn't Roger Bell at that time. Ty McCullum in the middle. Dikembe was older. It wasn't like Allen Iverson had. He had to really put the work in. They played good defense. They were feisty. But that man named Shaq was just too much. He was bringing it in the box. The Sixer team was competitive for 5 games, and against a mere mortal team, who knows why their fate would have been. But they never went back to the finals again. And so the question is, how would that Sixer team stacked up at their best against that Nets team, which did supplement them? And Jason Kidd came up to the Nets, found rejuvenation, took the Nets to back-to-back finals, went further against the Spurs than against the Lakers, won six against the Spurs. And Richard Jefferson was a fresh puppy, and Kenyon Martin was fresh. Skittle Kittles was there. Jason Kidd was leading the way. And aside from an episode off the court is why I believe why he didn't get an MVP, because he was definitely in his element. He definitely had stepped his game up. And the question comes down, who do I think, which team, and these two teams got to play the runner-up finals and win without having to worry about a Shaquille O'Neal, because what the Nets had, I think Keith Van Horn, I remember Van Horn was one of those two teams, would have been interesting. Which team do I think out the 0-1 Sixers or the 0-2 Nets would have won if we could have had a runner-up title between the two? Well, Iverson was the better player than Jason Kidd at the situation scoring wise. But then after that, Jason Kidd, this is a tricky situation when I'm about to say, because he got to work with me. Iverson was the better player, but Kidd got more out of his team. Make no mistake about it, if they could take the Spurs to 6 with Ginobili and Parker, who were better than what the Sixers had on the wings. So come on now. And Tim Duncan was something else. Then I know that I think Kidd and them would win in 6 games. Iverson's talent alone wins you a game or two. But the lack of what they had, and this is where people used to ridicule the East and say they were inferior and that they were inferior to the West. So if there was a finals between the 0-1 Sixers and the 0-2 Nets, I think the Nets would have won. I do. It's a little game we do, runner up, and I get asked these questions sometimes, and it's fascinating because there are teams that go there, and you wonder if they didn't have to meet a freight train or somebody that was so dominant, how would they fared? And we could do a back to back. So I think the Nets would have won in 6 because Jason Kidd's distribution, the totality would have won. But I think Iverson was the best player. It's just that the squad, what they had, weren't enough. So Larry Brown was great coaching. Would have been interesting against Byron Scott. Would have been interesting because Byron Scott got 2 finals, how he was stacked up against Larry Brown's situation. Because Larry Brown did use the same formula for the Pistons when they beat the Lakers, because at that time, Kobe wasn't passing the ball to Shaq as much. Rick Fox, D. Fish had mysteriously gotten older, as you saw. They replaced him with Karl Malone, Gary Payton. Karl played great in the triangle. Gary didn't really work. That's a whole nother subject. But anyway, let me know what you think if you had to pick this is runner-up finals. Who wins out the 0-1 Sixers, 0-2 Nets? Please hit like, subscribe, welcome thoughts, comments, and I do respond. Thank you. Wash your hands. Keep your mind clear. Watch out for another. Share it if you like and hit that membership, because when you do requests like this come true, stay safe, stay blessed, stay woke, stay free. On my peace.